It's Julesy, and it's time for another episode of Pop Snark, where we discuss everything from lowbrow to the highbrow. As long as your eyebrows are on fleek, you are good to go. And this week, because it is 3:30 Saturday, and I said I was going to go to Houston Alumni Chapter meeting, which started at 2:30. Clearly, I'm just going to go for the end, because I don't need to sit through 3 hours of Delta Deers arguing with each other. Let's sip on some water this week, because I have to head out the house. And I don't want to roll up anywhere a little bit tipsy or buzz because I got to be on my proper protocol this week. So, clink, 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 clink. Cheers to another week of Pop Snark. Let's get this right on. In a very hectic week. Like, my gosh, I don't know. I thought Mercury in retrograde was retrograding out. So this week with TGIT and Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder, I actually was very happy with this week's episode of Scandal. I don't know if it was just me or if y'all was feeling it too, but I felt like the storyline finally kind of sort of picked up and started to make a wee bit more sense. I felt like former past President Cooper was like all the shade thrown at Ronald Reagan. We see you, Shonda. But his wife gave me all the giggles when she said since bitches have to get through this song and pony show, like, whoever says that, I need to figure out a way to use that term. Now, the storyline that I really wish would die, which is Fitz and Olivia, it seems like there's going to be a resurgence of that. I don't know how it's going to play out. Maybe it seems like because of the plot line that Melly's starting to feed into, and now this whole do we still have hope dialogue between Fitz and Olivia. Who knows, girl, but I'm over it. I don't really want to see them bump pelvic bones no more, but you know. Shauna don't care about me. How to Get Away with Murder, I'm still confused about, girl. I don't know. I'm a watch because I'm a support, but Black-ish was super cute. I loved the ending with them all in the Jackson 5 costumes. Diane, the younger twin, the girl twin, is still my fave. She's still my spirit animal, and I still will be tuning in every Wednesday. I'm also still here for The Voice. Yes, I will be tuning in. I actually was home this Monday, but I didn't realize The Voice was 2 hours, girl. I'm going to go back to, like, watching the recaps after, because 2 hours is a lot of time to dedicate to one television program. But I am interested in seeing Menelik's performance. I am still here for the Taylors, both of them. Taylor, the one kid, did a rendition of Taylor with 3 names, did a cover of Mad World, which is like a super depressing kind of like song, but his cover was just, it slowed the song down. It was just so beautiful, and I've been listening to it all week long. You know, I did a video the other day about smart brown girls and living the life you want, and I was all in my feels, and I just had that song on rotation because I felt like it somehow was like spoke to my feelings in that moment. Oh, about this hair, I know somebody's gonna ask, but this hair will be in the Wig Wednesday tutorial. I'm putting up a tutorial on how to make a wig. I literally just made this morning. So people keep asking me about my lip colors. I've been putting them in the description box as live lately. That's why I have not been replying to you guys, because it's in the description box. So please, before you ask questions, do click it up in the description box. So much information there for you. Okay. So street harassment, I Holla Back is like some sort of, I don't know what they are, like a media company, not something. They did a video about street harassment. Now, I'm going to get around to writing a blog post on this. I just don't know if I'm going to put it on my blog or someone else I write for. But the video was basically a racially ambiguous, leaning towards white woman walking down the street of New York. I mean, she was white. She was like is she really white? She looked like white. Like she was white or maybe like Persian or something. Big curly hair. Was walking down the street of New York City, and they filmed her for 10 hours to try to show the impact of street harassment. Now, for those of you who do not live in New York City, and I know when people start to talk about problems in New York City, they tend to act like this impacts the entire world. I do think street harassment happens in other places, but I lived in New York for 8 years, so I get the gravity of street harassment. However, I don't know that people outside of major metropolis areas like are really gonna understand it. Like someone in Delaware might not get street harassment as much, because my biggest thing when I moved out of New York was realizing, or DC definitely has really bad street harassment. It's just on a whole nother level in DC, in Baltimore. But when I moved to Delaware, I realized like, oh snap, there really are places where like the sidewalk ends. So people don't really walk, you kind of are stuck to driving. And I think that really cuts down on kind of the impact that street harassment might have on some body. But I don't know. I just think that the conversation is so liberally bent, like it's so far to the left and it's so New York centric that's why it's a hard time for people who don't live in cities like Philadelphia, New York, LA, DC to really kind of get why this conversation matters. Now, there were a few issues with the video. I think I'm just going to do a whole nother video on this topic because I have a lot to say about it. It feels like the tone of the conversation is misguided and really hard for the people that need to hear it to understand it. And so all the men you see in the video are Black and Latino. But I lived in New York for 8 years, and I will tell you, white men can be some of the rudest and most offensive and most aggressive when it comes to street harassment. I am not of the variety who feel like it's a problem for men to say hello to women or compliment a woman, as long as you understand that I don't owe you anything to respond and you will let me keep walking and go on with my day and you'll just take the L on that. Said hello to a lot out here in Houston. People will come up, start a conversation, and once they realize that you don't want to talk to them, they will leave you alone without cursing you out. And I think that's really where the problem comes with street harassment, is that there are, for a lot of women on a day-to-day, smile, beautiful, hello, oh, bitch, why you not? As soon as you don't say nothing, you become a bitch, you become all these derogatory terms, and it gets really aggressive. And it does get very scary and uncomfortable when men follow you down the street. And it's like you have to then divert yourself from whether if you're like walking home or something, you really don't want somebody following you up to your front door. And that has happened to me several times, so I get it. I just think that the video loses its impact just as the conversation around street harassment loses its impact rather quickly. It gets diverted into, oh, well, why can't someone say hello to you, or why can't someone pass a compliment, so you're saying you just don't want to be talked to at all. And that just totally diverts the whole essence of, you know, it's not that you can't say hello to someone, but they don't owe you a hello back, and that doesn't give you the right to enter to their personal space. Then this week I've been reading a whole lot. I actually read a pretty interesting article in the New Yorker about the slave trade that's still going on in Mauritania. There's Mauritius, which is the island off the southern east side of Africa, and Mauritius is on the coast of Northwest Africa. It's between like Morocco and I want to say Burkina Faso, but girl, don't be quoting me on my geography. I don't be remembering. I read an article about the slave trade that's still going on in Mauritania and the kind of abolitionists that are working to resolve it, which I think is just relevant to let you guys know that there are people around the world outside of your world who are still going through things that we think might be antiquated ideas, such as slavery. I also watched a movie called I Am Slave a couple weeks ago on Netflix about a girl from Sudan who was sold into slavery too. She ended up in the slave trade in Sudan and then was sent off to England. It's like based on a true story, and she was a slave of a Sudanese diplomat. And so the slave trade is alive and well, and it's mostly affecting the Black and brown girls around the world. And it's just, I feel like it's something to be aware of. I don't really know what to do about it or what, but I think it's always good to be aware of the world outside of you. Matthew Knowles' newest daughter, she is super adorable. She's just a chocolatey M&M drop of big natural hair with all them curls in her hair. She is super, super cute. Apparently her mother did an interview on Extra, and of course, I feel like it's always clickbait because they always tone these articles with Matthew Knowles' baby mama wants the daughter to meet Beyonce. Basically, like, I watched the interview. The woman was asked if she ever wants her daughter to meet Beyonce. What about Solange? What about the other little boy that Matthew Knowles has just been laying in cream? First of all, Matthew Knowles is a bruz. Don't forget. So he's just out here piping everything and spreading his cream everywhere he can. No chill. But what about Solange? And what about the other little boy? But I get why people ask that, but I feel like she was set up because the reporter who was interviewing her asked her specifically, do you want your daughter to ever meet Beyonce? And she's like, I'm open to it. I don't have a problem with it. She didn't really go into like, oh, I can't wait, whatever. But the little girl was super cute, super adorable. And at least it seems like Matthew Knowles has some decent genes. Like, I guess. Can Iyanla come fix Matthew Knowles' life? I don't know. K. Michelle had booty pictures, like nude booty pictures that supposedly leaked. And I mean, I know K. Michelle is supposedly my soror. She is from the Beta Alpha, the baddest FAMU chapter. Ugh. ugh, I just don't. I mean, I like her music. I just don't like her as like I just can't. I be wanting to rock with her, but it's like, girl, no, like, how you got a picture and you are in MBK management, which is MBK offices, which is her management team. I think it's Alaska's company, I forget what it stands for. But you can see she's like standing in front of doors in an office. MBK sign is above the doors, which like her pants and her jaws pulled down, supposedly cornbread, silicone booty, all out, and then her hands is lifted up. Her curl wand job on her wig was glorious though. But you can look in the reflection of the doors in the glass and see that there are two people standing behind her taking the picture of her butt like she is posing. And I don't know, maybe it's because she has a tour coming up, maybe because she has a new album coming out. I get it how you need to, girl, but I just don't. Does she have a new reality show? I just don't get why people have to kind of lose their sense of self and integrity in order to be successful. I think there are other ways to do it, and K Michelle just has it all wrong. And every time you want to be like, "Ooh, girl, that song, I'm feeling it," you can't really sing. You have to like, I can't fuck with you right now because you're doing this dumb-ish. Like Teeny, T.I.'s wife, changed her eye color. Black Girl Lost. The article on Nicole Bitchie had like a PS note on it about how when you talk negatively about these celebrities or people of fame, that you have to remember that they are human too, and that we really blame Tiny for trying to better her look when we pretty much dog her out for looking like Miss Piggy. Now, I think Teeny looks interesting. Tiny, Teeny, whatever you want to call her, looks interesting. My issue with her is really her limited vocabulary. I just think she is of limited, she just doesn't have a full grasp on the English language. And, you know, on top of it, she has a very interesting look. And on top of it, she has an interesting voice. And I just try not to talk badly about her because I get it. You know, I get dogged out on the internet too. It is what it is. And it does hurt and it does suck, but you just have to, I don't know, I feel like when you are making and living the lifestyle that Tiny is living, you really can't give it much credence. So I don't know how that really compensates for her doing an eye change surgery that has proven to be very dangerous to your actual eyesight. Like, I don't really like ice blue eyes on people of darker melanin. I done told, you can ask Evelyn and Doyen. We had a whole conversation about how I feel like black people who are born with naturally light eyes tend to have lazy facial expressions. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I just feel like people that are born with light color eyes tend to rely so heavily on the fact that they are brown skinned with light color eyes, and so therefore the whole world should pay it forth to them, that they tend to just not, they have like this, I don't even know how to, I think I made it make sense in the moment about how like they just are like they face just looks lazy. Like they just because they just think you finna look at their eyes the whole time. And it's like, no, I really like green eyes aren't gonna do anything for me. I mean, I can acknowledge, I think people with brown eyes have beautiful eyes. I can acknowledge when eyes are beautiful, not just because they're colored, but I don't know that Tiny changing her eyes is really her being Black Girl Lost. I mean, you have to remember she is half white, so I don't know that has to do with it. I think she has, her limited vocabulary suggests to me that she just has a limited kind of stream of consciousness, a limited and maybe intelligence, maybe that's what I'm trying to say. And so I don't know that she even put that much thought into trying to be more white or whatever. She just thought that crystal blue would look interested and cute and ain't nobody else got it. I'm sure it was the most basic train of thought before she went and messed with her irises, but whatever, girl. Do you, boo. I did go see Dear White People last week. I will be doing a blog post on it. Once I figure out how to actually talk about it, I will be doing a full video review on it because I think it deserves that because of the conversation that's going on around Dear White People. But to give you a TLDR, really short synopsis here, there's a lot of hype around the movie, justifiably, because it's finally not a Tyler Perry film. Movie of intelligence that's supposed to speak to the Black middle class college educated Black person, and so I get the hype around it, but people are kind of resenting the hype that the movie is getting, and so they're already going into it exhausted because they're just tired of always hearing about it. And I mean, it's kind of like this fine balance, right? Like, I feel like I mean, I read a review on Very Smart Brothers, and I think Damon, who is the editor there, made a good point about how a lot of people who like the movie like it because what the movie stands for, not because they like actual parts of the movie. And I think I'm somewhere in that class too, you know, if you want to call me guilty of that. Yeah, I like the movie because I think if we can support this and make it a big deal and it create the revenue it needs to, there will be more opportunities for more and better stories like this to be told. It will create more lanes for it to show the real diversity of Black people, and that we don't just need a Black man dressing up as somebody mammy in order for us to get us out to the theater, or we don't need Tyler Perry redoing Black classics and watering them down to the same motifs of Black men with HIV and DL niggas. Like, ugh, I just be so over his films so many times. I mean, I appreciate his story, but his just filmmaking, I'm just like, ugh, really? Why'd you have to do that for Color Girls? I'm still salty about For Color Girls. White People wasn't the best film I've ever seen. It was very heavy on the cliches. I feel like Justin Simien, is that how you say his name? Justin definitely like crammed every single thing he could into that film, like he was never going to have the chance to do another film. And I think, I mean, but it makes sense. Like, how often do people get that chance to do a film like this? And I think, you know, if you can go and enjoy ish like Drumline or any of these kind of other cliche, these simple Black movies, what is it? Why Did I Get Married? Or whatever these Tyler Perry films are. I mean, I think it offers similar humor. I don't really get why anybody would be offended by the film. I think people are trying to make an offense over the main character, Sam, because she was a light-skinned girl. But I feel like if you really go watch the movie and pay attention, and if you know anything about the archetypes of Blacks in film and theater, she's playing in literature. She's playing into the same archetype that, what's the girl's name in Women of Brewster Place? Camilla? The chick in Brewster Place that come from a bougie Black family, but she moved to the hood because she wanted to be a part of her people, and she had this whole conflict. She had a class conflict. She had a conflict between being from the upper class and having more opportunity, but still feeling like she wanted to prove her Blackness. And I think Sam played right into that, and that's why she was light-skinned. I mean, Tiana Paris plays Coco, and I mean, I think her character was very interesting. I do wish that her character was developed a little bit more and given more of a storyline, because I think the complexity of what her character is about a Black girl of darker skin who has a ghetto name and it's kind of started from the bottom. Now we here, and is trying to really revamp herself by pushing away what she identifies as the negatives of being Black, and then kind of losing herself in that mix. I think that's a relevant story because I feel like there's a lot of women out there who are going through that, you know? Coco wear blue color contacts. She's like one step away from Tiny and her iris color change. I get why people wanted more of her story, but the fact is that the story was in there in the first place, you know what I mean? For you to want more of her story means that there was some dynamic aspect of the story in the first place. And overall, I like Coco's story the most. I wasn't really feeling Sam. She ain't really my cup of tea, but I get the point of her story. Good, and it starts a great conversation. Like, you want to walk out the movie and talk about it. Like, you want to go talk about it with someone else. Whether you liked it or loved it or just kind of felt lukewarm about it, you want to go talk about it with other people because it brings up a lot of topics. Speaking of stories that need to be told, stories that don't need to be told is Lena Dunham. Now, Lena Dunham is the creator of the HBO series Girls, about 4 white girls who somehow are having a very homogenous experience in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Now, let me tell you, I lived in Bushwick for 7 months, too long. Living in Bushwick sucks. It's nothing but hipsters. I'm not going to say it sucks because of, well, I wasn't a fan of living in Bushwick. It is really full of hipsters, Mexicans, and rats. And that's not shade to the Mexicans because I love some tacos. And the Mexicans living there were about the best part of me living in Bushwick because Anthony Bourdain's favorite taco tortilla factory is in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And there was this bodega that sold the best al pastor tacos ever in my life that was like 2 blocks over from my house in Bushwick. But there is absolutely positively no way to live in Bushwick and not see or deal or live with other people of other ethnicities. I just don't know how you're telling a coming of age story of 4 girls in Brooklyn and it ain't nothing but white folk. Like, how? Like how? A real coming of age story about living in Brooklyn? Read my book, Send It On. That's what it's about. Yeah, it's just, so I was already over Lena with the whole girls thing, but I've seen a lot of you who are a fan of the girls show. Some, for whatever reason, people tend to connect to the character Shoshana. She was the least annoying for me when I watched the first season, but I just like, you know what, I don't, like, it bothered me that someone like Alina, who has parents that are wealthy and connected, can get the hookup and then be acclaimed as if she's something so great, as if she didn't get to where she was because of who her parents knew. And I feel like there's so many other people out here with quality stories to tell, and they just don't get that same platform because their melanin is too deep and they just don't have the right connections. So I've chosen not to speak about it because I feel like obviously that kind of is a bitter outlook on Lena's success. And I feel like, you know what, people like it, whatever. You know, obviously people are connecting with it. I just don't get it, and I don't have anything else to add to the whole Lena Dunham is only popular because of she's white and wealthy. I don't have anything, like, people done already wrote several think pieces about it. I ain't got nothing else to add, so I just avoided it. But Lena Dunham recently put out a book. I ain't finna read the book. I ain't finna buy it. No, girl. But she, apparently it's like a nonfiction kind of loosely based on her life, supposedly, not supposedly. And in it, there's a passage about her at 7 years old fondling her 1-year-old sister, masturbating next to her 1-year-old sister, and playing with her 1-year-old sister's vagina so much that the 1-year-old stuck pebbles up her vagina. And when they were talking, her mother had told her about fallopian tubes and eggs, and she asked if her little sister had the same vagina as her, and her mother said yes, just smaller. So Lena decided to go explore her sister's vagina again and found pebbles in it, and she called her mother over, and her mother was not surprised that Lena had spread her 1-year-old sister's vagina open. Now, we're not even going to get into the anatomy of a 1-year-old, because that already proceeds with so many questions about what are you doing with the 1-year-old's private parts. So Lena got on Twitter today to kind of counter people who are taking offense to these anecdotes that made it into her book. Basically, the molestation of her little sister. We're not even going to get into the disembargement of her caring for her sister's emotional state as an adult. But at 7, for you to put in, even if it's a loose tale, like, at what point is this humorous or funny? If this was a man, we would all be up in arms. If this was a black person, just forget about it. I don't know how you can get on Twitter and think that LOL and Giggles can forgive you of molesting your sister. It is absurd. It is crazy. It is offensive. And girl, that's all the time I have here for Pop Snark, trying to keep these to under 20 minutes. Don't judge me. Thanks for watching. What are some things that you have read this week? What are some topics that you would like covered? Let me know. What are you sipping on this week? I'm keeping my skin aglow with this water. Cheers. Deuces.